Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this April 7th version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon. We're glad that you are here with us. If you want to find our content, go to EOA.network, EOA.network, and that takes you to a link tree where you can find the location of our Facebook, our Roku channel, our YouTube, and all of the places where this content is distributed. And then also it ends up on Apple Music and Spotify, the podcast networks. So be sure and check that out. Glad you're here with us. Here in a little bit, we're going to have Shane Alderson, who is the Baker County Commissioner and Administrator, and he's with us here this morning. We're excited to have our first Baker County Commissioner with us today. Hope that you guys will enjoy that. How are you, man?
Good morning. Is he, so Baker only has one commissioner?
No, we're going to talk about this. They have three commissioners.
Oh, you said the Baker County Commissioner, so it could...
I said this is our first Baker County
Oh, okay.
Commissioner.
Well, yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah, no, they have
no
three,
idea.
just like us. So, yep.
Three commissioners, gotcha.
Yep.
About 5 billion people have new wallpaper today on their computer. Benny, pop it up there.
Oh,
Look
because
at that.
That's
That's
crazy.
Pretty awesome. Like, that's, wow.
Yeah, and you and I were talking about...
That thing's flat, man. That Earth's pretty flat. Looks pretty flat to me.
I
wonder how you fall off that thing.
Yeah, I was, there's got to be a certain amount of people that are looking at all of this stuff and they're going, "Oh, this is staged."
Yeah.
There's no way.
Guaranteed. Yeah, but they say the same thing about.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be more likely back in the day. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I would believe that if they said one day, like, "Hey, all that stuff in the '70s was a hoax."
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, because just like, as far as we've come technologically, we're doing the exact same thing. We're not doing much different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's crazy when you really think about it. But I guess I kind of don't understand it. We haven't advanced very far in moon exploration in 50 years, obviously. We haven't been anywhere near it until yesterday. You know what I mean? In 50 years.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Yeah, I get the skepticism.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's warranted, kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I mean, talking about this on the crew captain, he made a really poignant point the other day. It was interesting. I saw this on a social media post where he's and they asked him about Easter, and and how or somebody, I didn't hear the question being asked, but anyhow, the thing that he responded with was super interesting. He said, you all are looking at us, and thinking how unique this capsule is and how unique it is that we're looking back at the Earth. And he said, we're looking back at the Earth, and we just want to remind you how unique it is, how unique the Earth is when you look at all of, Anyhow, it was just a poignant thing. It made me think a lot. So, yeah. Anyhow. Anything else going on? Have you been following that quite a bit, the footage and stuff?
Yeah, that's all. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting.
Yeah, it is. Well, and it's live. That's the other crazy thing. It's live streamed. Yeah.
YouTube, on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's
They're
wild.
doing it. I mean, I was listening or reading something about how they're, getting that information back, the stream, how they're getting the data back and forth.
Yeah, it's a laser.
Yeah, and which is super interesting. I don't know how.
That's why when they went behind the moon, we lost them for 40 minutes yesterday.
Well, that, and there is nothing to bounce off of.
Right.
I mean, there's no. Yeah, but anyhow, I wonder how the laser is tracking them.
I was kind of secretly hoping that they get lost for a little while, not like get hurt, but like just. Man, they haven't come back in contact, and they like kind of went off path a little bit, just for a little bit of adventure. You know?
Where would they go? But
I don't know. I mean, they could have met some friends.
Yeah, that's
parked it for a while. Who knows?
Yeah.
I wouldn't do well in space, by the way.
You wouldn't?
No. It's a long ways up.
Yeah.
No.
But you don't go anywhere if you fall. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
but
no
you do
falling.
once you hit the gravity. They're out of the Earth's gravitational pull now.
Right.
Now they would fall.
Right.
Yeah, because once you get past the lunar gravitational pull, there's very little bit of amount of gravity on this side. So where they're at right now, they're being pulled towards Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you would fall. You would fall, and you'd fall really fast.
Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't be pretty.
Yeah. I mean,
It'd take a long time. You'd have a heart attack before you got down there, I would imagine.
You would be dry. You would be dead and dry bones by the time you got to.
Yeah, it wouldn't be very
Earth,
pretty.
Burn up in the atmosphere, but
Yeah, you wouldn't even. Well, yeah, you'd only fall for a little while.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, you want to do sports?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Something more practical.
AM Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. 10 reasons to try the Temper Breeze, cooling tech that helps you feel up to 10 degrees cooler all night, every night. Experience the entire Breeze collection at Northwest Furniture and Mattress. Big Red Rocking Chair, on Elm, off Adams, in LeGrand. LHS Baseball lost to Philomath on Friday night down at Optimus Field, 10-6. They play in Burns today at 3 p.m. The JV team also lost a couple this weekend to Grant Union on Saturday down at Optimus. They play in Burns as well today at 1 p.m. right before the varsity. LHS softball goes to Lewiston. They haven't played in a week and a half. They'll play Lewiston Thursday over there, doubleheader starting at 1. LHS track and field has its only home meet of the season this Saturday at 10 up at the high school, so get out there and support these guys. I'll be there for sure because, I mean, I'm going to try to get to at least one game or event for every sports team, so I'm going to be there. LHS boys and girls tennis is at home today to take on Four Rivers at 3 p.m. up at the high school tennis courts. EOU softball went 4-0 this weekend versus Warner Pack. They're 29-5. 12-3 in the CCC, currently sit in second place. They're ranked number 4 in the nation. They host UBC this Friday and Saturday. The Friday games are at 2-4. Saturday games are at 11-1. And these are must wins. And this UBC team, I'm going to say this right now. The UBC team, the Canadian team, they have the best 1-2 punch pitching wise in the whole conference. And their depth at pitching. Their pitching depth is really good. They've already established themselves in the last few years as a team that has a chance to win the CCC every year, and they're going to continue that. And EOU is going to have to play some pretty flawless softball to beat them. And we need a sweep this weekend because EOU has UBC, then they go to Corbin, and then the final series of the year is OIT, who's in first place at home. And that's probably going to decide the conference. EOU baseball plays Whitman today in Walla Walla at 6 p.m. EOU track and field's at the NNU Open this weekend in Napa, while EOU women's lacrosse is in Bellingham, Washington this weekend to close out their season with 3 exhibition games against NNU, University of Washington Club, and University of Portland. So that'll be the very last game of women's lacrosse in EOU history, probably will be this weekend against the University of Portland. AM Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. They want to make you comfortable in your own home.
Good stuff. Thanks, man.
Yep.
All right, let's take a look outside at the weather. Man, yesterday was beautiful.
It looks looking exactly the same
It
today.
is looking beautiful. Yeah. This is our downtown weather cam. It's on our YouTube and on our website, and it kind of does a little tour, sweeps one way and then the other. That's the corner of 4th and Adams right there. All right, so let's look at that graphic, Bennett. So up to 70 degrees today. 70 tomorrow. Looks like we have beautiful weather the next few days, you know, and maybe a little more cloudy over the weekend. But who knows? Things could change. But, man, it looks like it's going to be beautiful.
I'm all for it.
Yeah. So, all righty. Well, hey, we're glad that you guys are here with us. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be back with Union County Commissioner Shane Alderson.
Baker County Commissioner.
Baker, thank you.
Yep.
What did I say?
Union.
Union, okay. Baker County Commissioner Shane Alderson.
Eastern Oregon is full of interesting people, with interesting minds and interesting things to say. Here at EO Live, we're committed to connecting you to these intriguing people with EO Talks. We let our special guests share their ideas and life experiences with deep, open, engaging, and inquisitive conversations. You'll also be informed in depth on some of the most recent and relevant events, issues, and more. EO Talks on EO Live, your connection to Eastern Oregon, now on Roku. Need something to watch while you sip your early morning coffee before work? Tune in to Eastern Oregon's only live morning video talk show, AM Live, right here on the EOA network. BC and Dodsey host while shooting the breeze about local happenings, sports, weather, or whatever else comes to mind, featuring special guests from Eastern Oregon and beyond. AM Live, 8 a.m. every Tuesday and Thursday morning, right here on the EOA network.
All right, we're back with Baker County Commissioner and Administrator. Shane Alderson.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Hey, thank you for making the trip over today.
It was a beautiful drive this morning. There was a little bit of haze over the fields as I was coming in.
Yeah.
And I don't know that if anybody knows, I was actually born in LeGrand.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. When? I mean...
In the 70s.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
I was born in December of 79, so
well,
just barely.
I'm older than you.
He was born in 79 also.
Okay.
I was born in July of 79.
Oh, you caught me in the summertime.
Yeah, well, cool. And then did you live here in LeGrand and go to high school and stuff?
No, I grew up in Baker City my whole life. My dad... when I would come along, Dad worked for the Forest Service as a mechanic for the Lao Whitman, and I had my mom stayed home, but my mom and my aunt and my brother played music all through my early days growing up in Baker. So Dad would work, and my brother and I would help Dad after he would get off at the Forest Service. He would come in and work on tractors. Dad was a certified John Deere mechanic.
Oh, wow.
So in the summertime, my brother and I would find ourselves out working on an old A or B on somebody's field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up with grease under my fingernails too, you know, and so I totally get it. So.
When I go into the road department and we're looking at new equipment, the smell in that shop is so familiar to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I totally my grandfather was a blacksmith, and my other grandfather ran dump trucks along with farming and ranching.
You bet.
And so yeah, it's just a very familiar thing. And tools too. I don't know about you, but it's like, I mean, now there's so many tools from, I mean, you can get tools a lot cheaper, but when I was growing up, man, you know, it was expensive. And
You bet.
yeah, I mean, I remember my very first set of sockets and end wrenches, and I still have some of those, you know. But,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
My dad had 2 sets, and my brother and I inherited those. And,
yeah.
which is good because I still have a lot of projects sitting around.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so before we get too far, let's just talk about the structure
Yeah.
of Baker County, and this is a little bit interesting. So just you tell me the number of commissioners you have, and then the administrator makeup.
You
Talk
bet.
to me. Yeah.
So we have got 3 commissioners, and for the last many years, the original order that defined the commission says that there are 2 part-time commissioners and 1 full-time commissioner that's also the chair, and that role has always been the administrator as well, all the way from the time that the county seat used to be Auburn, and there's a story there that they finally just came and took the county books from Auburn and moved the seat to where it is now in Baker City. And from that time on, you had a county judge, and they were they didn't call it administrator, but the executive of the county from that time on. And then in the 90s, I guess it would have been, they changed from a county chair, or from a county judge to a county chair, but the duties stayed the same, except for, I think, probate.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, and the administrator, like, so in Union County, Shelley Burgess is the administrator.
That's right.
And now, does the administrator hire the department heads, or is the department heads, they manage the day-to-day of the department heads? Okay.
So I oversee the department heads, and then obviously the department heads manage their people.
Right.
But they report to me, and I've got a really good crew. The people that have been there, all but 2 of department heads are within the last 2 years, but the rest of them have been nearly 20 years. So
Yeah.
they don't need a lot of supervision. They've been there many years more than I have, but a lot of support, and then just day-to-day operations.
Yeah.
And
Well, and so then, so you and I were talking off air before we got going, in that having an elected administrator. So like, well, so in Union County, there are 3 commissioners. They all have equal power. They're all paid the same. And then you have an administrator that is a paid position. In this case, it's Shelley Burgess. And a lot of that administration is just doing the books. I mean, making sure that, you know, the bills are getting paid, and
Right.
so on and so forth, and money is allocated to where it needs to go, and so on and so forth. And that's a big job.
it is.
And so, and it doesn't matter if it's a city or if it doesn't matter how big the organization is. There's just that's a lot of stuff to do. And the problem with electing an administrator is that there's the potential of electing somebody that doesn't have the skill to be a good administrator. Now, that's no reflection on you, but I mean, just talk
Thank
about
you.
that a little bit. Yeah,
The electorate really need to be responsible for their decision.
Yeah.
Because it is a big job.
Yeah.
And currently, right now, there's a ballot measure that could possibly change the structure. The past commissioners and Christina Witham had started going down the line of, we would like to have an administrator that's paid while the 3 commissioners are equal. We would just select a chair, and then you could rotate the chair every year. There's a lot of people came to me with the feeling of, just because we might be the only 1 or 2 counties in Oregon that still has the structure as it is now, we like being able to go to air our grievances with the executive of the county. And if there's also a little bit more authority to having the executive powers to be, like being able to sign a conflagration act during a wildfire or emergency orders and things like that. And I do think that people like the idea of being able to come to my office and say, hey, what's wrong with this road? Or, can you call the road department? Can you call and get this straightened out? And you're responsible to them. You work for the people. And I think that is something that they don't want to give up. But we'll find out in May, I guess.
Yeah.
The way the ballot measure is written right now, if it would change our duties to being equal and just legislative, so you would have, you would still have the ability, you would write the ordinances for the county and change those, and also weigh in and lobby on things that are going on in Salem. Every year you pitch in and try to figure out what is coming down from the state legislature that might impact the county in a financial way or administrative way. A lot of the times there's unfunded mandates. They want you to provide a service that they'll wish into law, and you don't have and you're thinking, I don't have the budget for that.
Right.
So what this would do would change the makeup to where that's all we would do, would be legislative work, and then you would hire an administrator to do the day-to-day.
Yeah. So, who goes to Salem now in your current setting, in your current administration, when you guys, as commissioners, when you're trying to represent Baker County on a particular issue, how is that responsibility happening now?
In the past, I think that there have been commissioners that didn't feel that they could do any good if they went to Salem because of the political climate and makeup, but every commissioner has the ability to go to Salem and lobby for or against something that they feel strongly about, or and it's more complicated than that, but excuse me, you have the Association of Oregon Counties,
right,
and they do a lot of work with the legislature and the counties trying to bridge that gap. And then also you have committees that you can serve on or be a part of. That's they're legislative committees like Health and Human Services, Natural Resources, road issues. So each commissioner typically picks up things that they're interested in. Commissioner Witham did Natural Resources. I've done a lot of health and safety and public safety work. And that's been kind of the areas that I've leaned into.
So then in Baker County now, the commissioners, you kind of take it upon yourself to inject in the things that you're interested in.
Yeah.
For
sure.
And I mean, I know the commissioners really well. The commissioners of Union County have been on the show many times, and so we're familiar with their activities, and I know them personally, and so. And I mean, and I'm sure that can feel frustrating to, we could make the trip over and it's going to take a lot of work to get there, but, they're really not going to listen to us if we go anyhow, and.
That's not true.
Yeah,
though.
right.
The thing is, if you're not at the table, you're on the table.
Right.
And
cool. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
That's an old time saying. There was a commissioner coined that in the Valley many years ago, and that's kind of a mantra that goes through the Association of Counties. And of course, here we have the Eastern Oregon Association of Counties, and you do get to know your fellow commissioners very close, and you try to work on things as a group, and you have a much stronger voice that way.
Yeah.
So things like when they were trying to change the legal status of hard drugs in Oregon, and they came out with one or two different drafts of the bill, and it was pretty much just the same language, but with calling it something different.
Yeah.
But you still didn't criminalize hard drugs. All of a sudden, after a couple of weeks of, I think, kind of getting beat up by the counties, they came out and said, would the counties put together a deflection program that would work if we recriminalize hard drugs? And we looked through the gosh, it would have been like the third or fourth rendition of that bill, and it started looking pretty good. I thought they must have worked on this day and night for the last couple of weeks, because it was much different than what it originally came out. And a lot of the counties did. Baker County had their deflection program up and running. It didn't go as well as I would have liked, but I think that for a county like Baker County to stand up and say, we're interested in recriminalization, but also doing the work to get people off of addiction, that kind of gave the legislature permission to take those steps to recriminalize. And that little bit of advocacy, I think, really kind of pushed it over the finish line.
Yeah. Well, very cool.
Yeah.
So, talk to me about what are some of the pressing issues in Baker County? I mean, if you take a little bit of a 30,000-foot view, what are some, and how long have you been a county commissioner now?
This is my fourth year.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you are seeing that need to be improved? I don't know. What are some of the critical issues for Baker County? Yeah.
When everyone is dealing with what do you do with the economy, and a lot of talk about bringing new jobs in, and I think economic development needs to make a shift to, let's prioritize what we have now. Can our manufacturers, with a little bit of help, could they bring on a third shift? What are the needs of the businesses that we currently have? And housing, like everywhere, is an issue. I've worked on some different ideas. Some met with resistance. Some people think it's a good idea. Others don't. It's a long process. I thought when I was first elected that the governor's priority of housing was like, well, it should be pretty easy. There's going to be money come down the pipeline. We can buy down infrastructure, but it's always much more difficult than that to see a project off the ground and then have your constituents comfortable with what you're doing. But I think transparency and openness and then just having a good ear to what people want will bring that forward. Still, I've done a lot of advocacy for something I never thought I would get into, but the very first year that I was elected, hospital announced that they were closing the birthing center. I had no idea that this was an issue that had been going on for nearly 10 years across the country. Small critical access hospitals can't afford to take a loss every time a baby's born, and then you have low volumes, and then low volumes of birth rates, and then you still have to keep your staff up to I'm trying to think of your abilities, and it's been very difficult for hospitals, and now across the nation, and now within the last couple of years, Oregon is starting to feel it. My wife and I were, I say my wife and I were pregnant. We were about 6 months along when the news hit, but we were older parents, so that completely changed our birth plan. along with lots of people.
Right.
Now you feel like, what kind of an investment can people make in your towns, in your county, when you've got a loss like that? But we've continued on the commission level to support the hospital in making good decisions. And,
Yeah.
And they've realized that Trinity, their parent group, that this is a critical need, and they've lost a lot of faith in the community, and they're working diligently, I believe, to bring that back. And there is a space for advocacy from your local leaders. And I've spent a lot of time working with Senator Wyden and his staff on the federal side to try to come up with a bill that would change reimbursement across the country for critical access hospitals that are providing birthing services. Also, on the state level, what can we do for critical access hospitals that make it easier to attract and retain staff?
Yeah.
So,
Well, and again, I've spent a lot of time in that conversation of that space, particularly with Grand Ronde Hospital. And
bet.
so I understand the value of their independence and, being insulated from some of the things, and I didn't know until I had a conversation with a physician, a retired physician who knew, but OB doesn't ever pay for itself, and so birthing and so on and so forth, and in a bigger scheme, you hope that orthopedics or other agencies, other departments, they make money to kind of, if you're going to have a hospital like Grand Ronde Hospital, you have to have OB. It's not like you can just
Right.
and so you hope that those different departments will fill in what it doesn't make. But if you're the hospital in Baker County, in Baker City, is owned by St. Alphonsus. I'm trying,
Yeah.
and so then they're kind of looking at it as, we got this franchise out there in Baker City,
Right.
and we need it to pay for itself, and that's a really difficult business model.
it is, because you do need to bring in these service lines that make money.
Right.
And the payer mix is different.
Yeah.
You have closer to a 3-to-1 payer mix of private pay and government insurance.
Right.
And Union County, Baker County, most of the people that are of the age to be having babies are on the Oregon Health Plan.
Yeah.
And it pays about 70% of what a live birth costs.
Yeah.
So the hospital's guaranteed to lose money every time.
Yeah. And yeah, I can see how that would be complicated. And help me understand this. I had somewhere along the line, I had heard that a lot of the physicians are hired by St. Luke's. Is that right?
Originally, yeah.
Okay, but the hospital is owned by St. Alphonsus. Yeah, I mean, and how does that work together?
The way that worked before
and maybe how did you get there? Yeah.
Before the big breakup, there was several of the St. Luke's doctors had permission to work in the hospital in Baker. They are family practice physicians, so say you had an illness, you would be in the hospital. Your doctor from St. Luke's would just follow you over. And
Right.
they would take care of the billing and all of that. And the same, you would go to your maternity care visits at St. Luke's, and then when it came time to deliver, you'd go to St. Al's.
Yeah.
And they had a very nice birthing center.
Yeah.
And you knew your doctors, but when they made the decision to shut the department down, the St. Luke's doctors rescinded their permissions to work at St. Al's. So they've just been doing clinical work at St. Luke's.
Ah, so St. Luke's has a clinic.
They do.
Okay, yeah.
And St. Luke's is nonprofit too, right? There's a difference there, I think.
I am not 100%
I
sure
think
what their
St. Luke's is
makeup
nonprofit.
is.
Trinity is not. It isn't nonprofit.
Yeah.
which is the owner of like
That's right.
St. Alphonse, like a lot of hospitals actually.
Back east, they
Yeah.
own a lot of
Michigan-based.
different Michigan-based. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and I can understand why that would just make things complicated.
It is.
Yeah.
I had a young woman in my office telling me a story of came time for the baby and everything was progressing like it should, and her mother-in-law just happened to be staying with them. Water broke, and thought, this is perfect. You can stay with the other kids. They jump in the car, and they didn't make it all the way here to Grand Ronde. They made it outside of town to the rest area. And
Lad Marsh. She had a Lad Marsh baby.
she had a Lad Marsh baby. Yeah, but born in the car, and it was like, do you want me to stop? And no, keep driving.
Yeah.
And everything turned out fine. But the baby's healthy, and mom was healthy, but that's scary.
Well, yeah,
when you consider our
because those things can go bad also. Yeah.
and wildfires in the summertime shut the road down.
Mm-hmm.
Winter events obviously shut us down all the time.
Yeah. What do you
So-
do if you're snowed in?
You do it the old-fashioned
Yeah.
way.
I
guess,
mean,
but-
every other animal does that. So,
But
I mean,
it's not comfortable delivering in the emergency room, and not all emergency room doctors are qualified to do delivery.
so if somebody goes into the hospital over in Baker and is having a baby, they'll still help you.
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just they just don't have the birthing center anymore.
Right.
So, but they can hook you up. They can slap an epidural on you and an IV and all that.
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
And-
so you can
and it-
still have a baby in Baker. You
Right.
just-
But
the
it's-
epidural might be complicated.
It would be. It
Yeah.
depends on if you have
because
an
you have to have
anesthesiologist there.
an anesthesiologist to do
I'm
that.
sure they have an anesthesiologist at Baker Hospital.
Well, but
have
They
to.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But a lot of time it's scheduled for other procedures.
Yeah.
Not,
Right.
Yeah.
hey, we have a situation. Can you come in?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so let's switch topics a little bit. It's kind of interesting because I was recently over in Baker. We're part of the Baker County Chamber of Commerce, Baker City Chamber of
You
Commerce.
bet.
And so then, and they were kind of doing a marketing. They had some people from the outside, and they were doing a marketing meeting for Baker County, and they were kind of gathering information. Baker
Yeah.
City, excuse me, and we were talking. I mean, that kind of put me in the headspace of just because people are doing that. You compare close towns, and so then all the time we're comparing ourselves to Baker City and so on and so forth. And I've always thought that Baker City had a beautiful downtown. I mean, your restoration, Baker City's restoration of their downtown, really happened probably 10 years before we got started.
It did.
Yeah. And so, but still, it's a beautiful downtown. And one of the things we talked about was that there's more eating establishments over there. I mean, there's, and part of that, I don't know, talk about that a little bit. You probably have an opinion about that too.
No, it's just better. I don't know that there's more, but there is definitely better food in Baker for sure.
But part of that came from just the craft beer culture too, didn't it? I don't know. Anyhow.
So, well, if you want to go all the way back, in '95, the last mill closed in Baker County, and economy was just thriving, and then within a few years, it all just come crashing down, and local leadership and the state government said, well, hey, what are we going to do with Baker County? And they said, well, we need to switch to tourism. You're on that 84 corridor. You have this lovely downtown. But the thing is, at that time, all the buildings had facades over the front of them, so they looked modern. And that had happened in the 60s. So they had kind of sheet metal front and made the town look like a town would in the 1960s with your diamond fronts and all that. And they knew that these facades were underneath these historic buildings.
Ah,
So
interesting.
through legislative ask and grants, and they started a downtown committee, and the work that they put into that, restoring the Geyser Grand, and then each one of the towns, or each one of the buildings down Main Street one at a time, changed our economy from we had agriculture, mining, and logging, and we still retain a lot of agriculture, but now it's agriculture and tourism, and that was from that work 30 years ago.
Wow.
And so there was a time that it kind of, we got the buildings restored, and then there was kind of a lull where we were thinking, oh, what's the next thing? People weren't thinking about continuing maintenance and then promotion. And then through the county's Transit Lodging Tax Committee, for many years, the promotion took place and put us out internationally and nationally. And you always feel economic downturns with, when economy's good, you'll have international travel. When it's poor, you have local travel, people coming from, closer than like 200 miles. But it's always a driving factor of our economy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know that I knew that story. I moved here in '97, and I just remember the first time I drove down through Baker City. It was like, wow, this is beautiful. It's unique, you know, and I mean it certainly is a draw. And again, when LeGrand has the same thing that Baker City has, and that is the downtown is a little bit of a hike from the freeway, but I love the entrance, the main, what street is that?
Main Street?
Jackson and
That's 10th Street. Or,
10th.
or Campbell. No, you come in on Campbell.
Yeah, and
then
so
make the left-hand turn on the main. Yeah.
And in Campbell, it's full of businesses. It's beautiful and it's attractive. Still, you're still going to have a lot of tourists that are they're going to be serviced there on Campbell, and they're going to get back on the freeway and stuff. But one of the huge disadvantages that LeGrand has on our street when we come in Island Avenue is you have the railroad on one side,
right,
which is not buildable. You can't have, businesses on that side of the road, and so our entrance to downtown is just a little impinged.
Right.
Well, that's a lot.
We have a freeway access to downtown, though.
That's true.
I mean, they don't have that in Baker.
Yeah.
Right.
But you can't get. I guess you can. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you can just come in on the first exit.
Yeah.
Or leave on the first
We
exit.
have a first exit like that, but it's
Doesn't
very
nobody
similar
use
to
it.
this one.
Yeah.
No one ever really
I don't think
comes
I've
in off
ever
of that.
taken that. Are you talking about the one that's kind of on the hill that
Yeah.
you come back down in?
That's
I
right.
don't think that
That's
I've
right,
ever
yeah.
taken that exit
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
I've taken the further west one, right? The first one that'll take you like back way into the high school.
Right.
I actually usually go that way
You bet, yeah.
because it's just a little faster to get to
Yeah.
high school.
To get downtown, if you're coming in, it's on the Ontario side. If you hit that, it'll bring you right on to
Yeah, I
Main
wonder,
Street.
do people coming west take that exit ever?
I would
or
think
do they
so.
come to the
But
one?
typically, the one in the middle that
Campbell,
puts them
yeah.
down on Campbell. Yeah.
Yeah.
And-
But if you're looking for gas or you're looking for a McDonald's or whatever it is, that
Right, but you're right. If you come downtown, it wasn't like this when I was a kid. You
Yeah.
had old restaurants like the Blue and White that I used to go to when I was a kid, and the Truck Corral, and it was American food. And now you have the Cabin is on Main Street, and
Much more diverse. for
very
sure.
diverse and unique and very good. You have the Corner Brick across the street, which is American and pizza with a really good atmosphere. Latitude 45's around the corner with.
Which is the sister to Mamacita's here in town, right?
No, Latitude 45 is a little different. It's
It's the same owner. It's a brother-sister owner.
oh, is it?
Yeah. Very similar menu.
Okay.
Yeah. If I have the name right, Latitude 45. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is. Yeah, I think that's the one where it's like a brother and a sister that own it, and one runs one and one.
Oh, I didn't
runs
realize that.
Montecitos here in
Okay.
town. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's Latitude 45.
I'm not sure. I
I
know
think so.
I've known the manager in there, but I don't really know the owners.
Yeah, I think it is the same.
Yeah. But very good dining, and like I said,
Even
that's,
the old
that is a
school stuff
different.
is really good. Like
It-
Paisanos has been there for a long time.
Yeah.
And or the what's
And
the,
Barley's, of course.
What's the little cafe that's right on that same road as Eagle Cat?
Yeah.
Oh, man,
Yeah, if you go out on
you wouldn't
10th.
even think that's good food, but you go in there. I was
It's
in there with
super
a
good.
diverse group of people, from kids,
Yeah.
adults, and everybody said
And everybody's
their food
happy.
was
The kids
good.
are eating
Yeah,
French
it was-
fries, and
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
crazy.
I've known John. He had worked different places throughout town when him and I were. I think John's a little older than me and his wife, but they've worked really hard to buy that and then bring it up to what it is now. And then you've got Eagle Cap, and then moving up the street, the Inland Cafe is a local favorite.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is just like a small town restaurant should be. If you need to go and have
their
breakfast
service
there.
is just fantastic. They're just like, they're right on it. Coming in Campbell, the other thing that, it's just a huge benefit that Baker City has is that park. The park is so close to downtown.
Yeah.
So you've got just that beautiful space, and
attached to the trail. So
Yeah.
you can walk to
Right.
it from almost any end of town
Right.
without being on the street.
Right.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that when I was in that meeting, we were talking about some of this stuff, and all of those people were Baker City, Baker County people, and you're focusing on what we don't have. Well, we don't have a Walmart, or Safeway just closed, or
Yeah.
And those things are certainly impactful, without a doubt. I get that, but man, Baker City just has a lot of really. It's just a beautiful town, and it's a great place to live, and there's a lot of those things that are just really beneficial.
Well, and it's not just Baker City's extra special, but the county itself.
Yeah.
Growing up there, when I was a kid, I got my license. The parents gave me a Jeep Wagoneer, and that was my car. And you could go, half an hour, 45 minutes, and be out driving the trails in the desert, and another hour and a half, you'd be up at Anthony Lakes and up in Alpine. It was all just right there, accessible at your fingertips, and then you realize that you have something extra special right there that you grew up experiencing. And I think after you get older and you travel around and get more experience, you come back home and you're thinking, this is one of the most incredible, diverse places on earth. You have so much to see here, from Hell's Canyon
I
and
was going to say, yeah.
the deepest gorge in the United States to alpine meadows that the sheep are grazing in.
You're right.
Yeah.
That's fairly phenomenal. And I'm just thinking of the vastness of space. Of course, I'm really familiar with Union County.
Sure.
But that seems more vast. Like when you think of like the sheriff's department, who is managing, because you have Halfway and Richland. And clear to the Snake River,
Yeah.
right, and then
Sumter.
Right.
Sumter and Haynes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
area there.
Yeah.
I have a county question. So Baker County is opted in on the marijuana, right? Dispensaries,
We
but
have.
the city's not.
That's right.
So what does that look like? Like what? Like I don't know. Can you tell me like monetarily, like what that looks like? Like what percentage they get from the county gets from the dispensaries, and how that kind of.
It's so low right now, I don't have the number. We did have a grow and a dispensary in Huntington.
Right.
And it's since closed, so the only one left is at Sumter at the Nugget up there. It's very significant for the town of Sumter.
Okay. Oh, the town gets the tax dollars.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not a
I,
county thing.
I think that there is some that comes through the county, but it's pretty insignificant.
And is that because of Ontario? Is that because Ontario just?
I
Kind
think
of
they're up to maybe 15 dispensaries.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's because of all the Idaho people coming over. 'Cause it's not legal
Could
in
be.
Idaho. Yeah, but I always wondered that, like how the money works, because you know what I mean. Like you'd think now. I mean, I guess we kind of passed the boom, right?
Right.
But
yeah.
you know, at one time, there's counties and cities that must have been making a fortune.
And they did, and also then they kind of paid the infrastructure cost on it.
Oh, of course, yeah,
You
and
know,
just what it
Yeah,
brings.
you have a lot of people coming in, but they, like I'm using Ontario as the example, but you have a lot of traffic, I mean, to support that many dispensaries.
Right.
But then do you transfer that to the city's general fund to take care of the infrastructure
Roads
hit
and-
and the
yeah.
roads and law enforcement and medical needs that go along with it? So
Right. So it's almost like a break even, maybe. Or,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're at, but it's been, 15 years ago, whenever it started. The county opted out of allowing a dispensary, but if the cities have control over their own city limits.
Jurisdiction?
Their
Okay,
jurisdiction,
gotcha.
so they can decide whether to or not.
So you can't have one in county if it's outside of a city limit, but if a city said
Yeah.
like Sumter then it's fine.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
interesting. I didn't
Yeah.
know. You learn something every day.
Do you have, I mean, how would you manage that if somebody wanted to have a dispensary not in a city, but in the county?
It's
somewhere?
it's controlled by a county ordinance.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, and you've got I mean, it would be like any other business, you know, if you wanted to put a convenience store on the corner of a highway somewhere and.
Sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But
we-
Baker's opted out, right?
Yeah.
Baker County's opted out.
Yeah.
No, I thought Baker County was in.
No, Baker County's out.
The county's out.
The city
but
of
the
Sumter-
cities
Got it,
can
got it,
can
okay,
control
okay,
their
okay.
own destiny.
Got
on
it,
that.
got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And Baker City has opted out
They
also.
have, yeah.
Okay.
Like LeGrand.
Yeah.
If for some reason they decided to change, they would probably have to put it on the ballot
Yeah.
and go from there. But
There's no point in it now, though, because we're
Probably
past
not.
all the money-making opportunity in it.
it would be, I mean, it's probably lucrative, but it would be like opening anything else. It's
Right.
not just a gold mine.
Right.
It would be like running another business. So.
Yeah. Well, so we're going to quit here in a second. We're running out of time, but so you decided recently to not run, right? I mean, so you're at the end of your first term.
Yeah.
So I guess what did you do before this?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that, too.
Yeah.
I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. I've done all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I've worked for a medical courier for 5.5 years, driving samples and medical supplies from Baker to Boise and back. I did that for several years. I worked for West Virginia University, I did 2 different rounds and 2 different sets for. The university would get the contract with the Forest Service to do the INVM surveys, which is National Visitor Use Monitoring Program. So I did a lot of field work, interviewing people recreating in the Wallowa Whitman, Umatilla, and Nez Perce. And I'm missing one of the forest. Umatilla, Wallowa Whitman, and the other one. So I did that each time for a year. I was a guide in Moab. I drove Jeep tours.
Oh,
and,
interesting.
yeah. I worked for Tagalong Expeditions, which was one of the oldest guide companies in Moab. And while I was there, I ended up working with Gray TV. I ended up shooting some of the footage that went into the film for the national park for Canyonlands.
Oh, cool.
So I came after all the adventure. I came back home, and somewhere around COVID, I decided to run for city council, and I did that. That was pretty rough business during COVID. Your businesses were being closed down, and you're fighting against all of that. And 2 years in, Bill Harvey decided not to run for a county commission, and I thought I could do that. I have enough experience, so I ran and got the position, and it's been really good. Of course, it's politics. There's frustrating things that are going to come up, but like you said, it feels really strange. It's so immersive, and especially my position being the administrator, and then every spring here comes legislative session, and it's time to start all of that work again, and it does consume you. And I bring it home, and I have young girls at home, and they're proud of me. And my middle daughter there is. I also have a adult stepdaughter running around that sometimes claims me and sometimes don't. So, but she's pretty autonomous these days. But I have a almost 8-year-old and a 2-year-old at home, and that time goes so fast.
Oh, man.
And my wife's saying, you get up and you're prepping for work, and you're watching the news, and you're getting ready for the day. You go do the work, and then you come home and you prep for the next day. And that's what that job requires as it is right now. And someone needs to be dedicated to it, and I have been for 4 years. But Adeline was 4 when we first started. There's a picture of her sitting on my desk, and now I think she could pick one corner of my desk up. She's just growing and changing so fast. And like you guys were talking about the moon flyby. I'm sitting watching that with the kids, and today she's got her very first science project, and so I'm going to I've got your interview and then a meeting here, and then try to get back, and for the next couple of years at least, or I'm going to try to look into doing something different that allows me to be more present.
Well, it would probably help if you weren't doing 2 jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say that, but
and
an administrator and a commission, I mean, that's essentially 2 jobs.
It is, yeah. And it changes, from what you may be doing. During the wildfires a couple of years ago, it changes dramatically to where you're working with the sheriff's office and emergency management, and going to the morning and evening meetings to see what the fire conditions are, and then running back up to the county and signing the checks and doing all the things.
That's crazy.
And it is. There's, like I said, there's pros and cons to that ballot measure, but the most important thing for that is that the people get to have a say in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, once we started campaigning, my wife and I made that decision. We talked about this is so consuming, and you're in it all the time. And right now things are pretty good. It does really feel like I still want to advocate for health care and do some of the work with the legislature and all of that. So maybe sometime I will run again and do the legislative work, because I really do enjoy that and building relationships. But maybe try to look for something in the field that, in the terms up, and that allows me to kind of stay present in that.
Right.
But in public service. But right now, I really want to go camping with the kids.
Yeah, for real.
So
Well, and I think that's a good priority.
it's hard. You operate at this high function for 4 years, and you get accustomed to it. I don't know if you get used to it, but it's good to. I feel really good at challenging myself and coming out. The county hasn't, we haven't been sued, we haven't been fined, we've maintained just a really even keel. We've done a lot of really good work with Witham has done good work with natural resources and fighting the TMDL thing, bringing that situation with our birthing center. Because of our situation with my wife and I, we were on international news. We did a Associated Press interview, and that friends of ours were traveling, and they had said that they had seen it all over the country, and it was picked up in Japan. And I'm very proud that Baker County took such a strong stand on that issue that it helped gain national awareness for the problem. And without that, you're not going to fix it.
Right.
And there's really big things that small communities can do.
Yeah.
So whoever wins it, I hope that they understand that and they take that on.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And so you're in your current position until January of next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope that we can talk to you again.
You
Come
bet.
back
I
and-
would be more than happy to come over.
Yeah.
This has been a pleasure.
Yeah.
And like
No,
I said,
and yeah, thank you for catching us up and educating us on Baker County, and Eastern Oregon is just such a unique place.
it sure is.
And it's easy for people to lose sight of that. So yeah. All right. Hey, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate it. So just stay right there. We'll be
All
down
right.
here in a second. Yeah.
On this day, April 7th, 1902, Texas Oil Company forms, Texaco. 1985, the first live telecast of the Easter Parade in New York. 2003, on this day, U.S. troops capture Baghdad. Saddam Hussein's regime falls 2 days later. 2022, I can't say her first name, but Mrs. Brown Jackson becomes the first black woman to be confirmed by the U.S. Senate to the Supreme Court in a 53-47 vote. I didn't want to butcher her first name. I can't remember how to say it. The #1 movie in America on this day in 1986, The Money Pit with Tom Hanks and Shelley Long. And the quote of the day is in honor of the moon travels, and it comes from Buzz Aldrin. I know the sky is not the limit because there are footprints on the moon, and I made some of them. One more time. I know the sky is not the limit because there are footprints on the moon, and I made some of them.
Good stuff. All right. Hey, thank you again
You bet.
for being here with us. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you Thursday right here.